In 2003, Deborah Cadbury named her 7 wonders of the industrial world. And the list was pretty good. The Bell Rock Lighthouse, London Sewers, the Transcontinental Railway, Brooklyn Bridge, Panama Canal, Hoover Dam, and the Great Eastern. But with respect, and I'm sure Brunel would back me up on this, the W123 should have made that list because it is the car that Brunel would have designed. So why did I buy a Mercedes W123, or to be more precise, a Mercedes 230e? Well, again, like most of my purchases, it was an accident. A lady in the village bought it and just arrived outside the house one night in the pouring rain to announce her new purchase, knowing that I would appreciate it. Obviously I did. And then I think we were at the village fair a couple of years later, maybe a bit less than that, and she announced that with the baby on the way she was going to get something more sensible, which was the Mini Countryman, which is depressing but I suppose a fact of life. And would I be interested in buying the car? The most remarkable thing about this is that my wife said yes, it would be a good idea, which is how we ended up with, well, I would say it's definitely the oldest member of the fleet, probably the longest member of the fleet, although the D-Max might give it a run for its money. But it's definitely, and without question, the best car I own. It's not the fastest. God knows, not the fastest. That will belong to the Corrado or the 406. It's not even the most practical. That's going to be a toss-up between the Safran or the Laguna. Is it the most comfortable? Tough one. I think again that's going to be in a triple test between the Camry, this, and the Safran. But in terms of engineering, quality, acceptance in the classic car world, this is it. It's the only car I own that I don't have to apologise for almost. I don't have to justify. It's the only car that is almost, well, it's been a classic car almost before it was out of production. This was, I mean, Mercedes threw everything at this car, properly everything. They actually started designing it just after they launched its predecessor, which came out in 1968. And I think by 1971 they'd done the clay models, and they almost spent 2-3 years of just, well, the car was done, they spent 3 years just perfecting it. You know, tiny little things, the biggest things as well. I mean, they did so many road accidents. They tested it to the nth degree. They staged road accidents on the streets of Germany. They took it to all corners of the globe. This for them was a PR and branding exercise. I think this was because they never built a car as well engineered as this afterwards. Most people will tell you that the cars that came after this were cheaper in terms of the production. They were easier to build, but this was, well, let me take you through some of the highlights and then you'll understand it, of why I find this car such a magnificent creature. As is immediately obvious, this is the 4-door saloon. There was actually 4 body styles. There was the coupe, the estate, which was actually Mercedes' first estate car, and is actually the one I would really, really want. If money no object, I'd go out and buy an estate, because that's fantastic. And also a long wheelbase. But in addition to those, they obviously did special vehicles like ambulances and stuff like that. And they built nearly 2.7 million of these between 1976 and 1985. The 230e, which is basically the fuel-injected version of the 230, was one of the most popular ones. They built, I think it was about 245,000 of these. So it's quite a communal one. And actually, it's the one, although the 2.8 would be lovely, this has still got a fair amount of poke. And actually, life slows down in a W123. You just want to take it easy. There's no hurry. It's just a car for sitting back and cruising in. One of my favourite quotes about the W123 is that Mercedes said, sooner or later, every car falls apart. Ours does it later. And you do get this sense that this will outlast the human race. This kind of built from granite approach, which I'll take you through in a second, because I know you're itching to see some of the highlights and one of some of the reasons why this has got a place on the fleet. And actually, at the start of the year, this was the car most likely to be sacrificed in terms of finding funds for the... So I'm not walking very straight because this field needs rolling. Although it was actually quite comfortable coming across. The suspension is very good on this, which is why they tend to use these in Africa and places where the terrain isn't so good. Well, a bit like Devon, I guess. Speaking of Devon, this car has been in Devon all its life. It was delivered new in 1982 to Mr. Wong in Sidmouth. He didn't keep it very long. I'm not sure why. Maybe he had second thoughts about choosing champagne gold metallic at a time when most people were going for blacks, greys and silvers. And I actually know that a lot of gold Mercedes were changed in the 80s and 90s to black and dark blue, which is a criminal shame, because I think it suits it. It gives it an elegance that, well, I just love it. I think it's a good colour. He kept it, and the next guy kept it for about 30 years. Then it passed into another person's hands, and then locally, and then it passed into the lady in the village, and then I've had it ever since. Let me take you through some of the little details. Let me just point out, get the elephant out of the way, for the elephant in the room. There is some rust coming through there, which is a project I'm determined to get into. I'll probably start on this because there's some rust coming through there, and I reckon I can do that myself, and I think I can do a passable job. Right, let me take you through some of the details, some of the highlights of why I love this car, why I appreciate this car, why you should appreciate this car if you don't already. The chances are you do. Let's get one thing out of the way first. Is that the best wheel trim ever? It's one of those rare occurrences where the wheel trim, I think, is more prestigious, more upmarket than the alloy wheel. The fact that it's colour coded to the body colour is just remarkable. I said remarkable again. I'm going to have a swear jar. Next time I do a video, I'm going to have a little jar, and every time I use the word remarkable, I'm going to put £1 in for charity. I think that's the way forward. But that wheel trim, can I use the word iconic? Am I allowed to say that? It's certainly very special, and I certainly wouldn't have an alloy wheel. Just brilliant. These here, again, small but significant. These were wrapped around to avoid having side repeaters, because I think at the time American legislation dictated that you had to have side repeaters. Any Americans watching, please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wong. But I'm pretty sure these were wrapped around for the American market. This has got the, at the time, 4-cylinder twin headlight. The 6-cylinder cars had a single unit halogen headlight. Can I say again that I prefer the twin headlight? Don't know why, I just do. We'll go into the car in a minute, but seeing this on the front of your car, who needs a spirit of ecstasy when you got that? And actually it falls down for washing or for valet parking, I guess. Okay, we'll get on to some details in a minute. Okay, moving around here. Again, famous headlights, famous rear lights to a point. Ribbed for your pleasure, to keep them cleaner for longer. Remind me of the Capris. And these, I think they're chrome on some models. They're there to protect car park dents or car park accidents. So rather that damages than having to replace the light unit. Not everything works. The electric aerial doesn't work. I need to investigate why. Should go up and down. It doesn't, so it's failing. It's things like the inside the boot. Okay, let's go into the boot quickly. Okay, pretty nondescript boot really, of its time, I guess. Notice the warning triangle, which I believe is there so if you're changing a tyre, you've got a slight problem at the side of the road, you can see that you don't take the warning triangle out to see that you're a hazard. But this, it's not a cheap Halford special. It weighs a ton. I think this weighs more than the AX. It's properly heavy. Again, strewn from granite. Nothing left to chance. I won't even attempt to put that in with one hand. Closes with the kind of reassurance that you'd expect from a Mercedes-Benz. At a time when Mercedes-Benz meant something. I think I read that they wanted this car to be a friendly looking car. A lot of Mercedes cars beforehand looked quite intimidating, quite austere, quite somber. This was a different animal. It had a friendly, elegant face, a bit like a shrunken S-Class. S-Class. Sean Connery drove one, obviously. But I think that's a very pretty four-door saloon at a time when Mercedes-Benz did build pretty cars. When this car was new, without options, well, I'll come on to the options in a minute because I've got the original list of options. This would have cost £10,000 in 1982 when this car was new. Today, that's the equivalent of £35,000. Bearing in mind the cheapest E-Class these days is about 38 and a half. Pretty good price for a car that was engineered to outlast the human race. Okay, we're going to go inside now. And this is where you start to get a feel for the engineering. The door handles. They open with the kind of reassurance that you'd expect from a bank vault. And look at this, I don't know if you can see this. Look at the attention to detail on here. They put their name to this because they're obviously very proud of the whole system. Again, look at that. Quality. And that's the view that greets you. I still think it passes the test of time. And it comes from a time when dials were clear, concise, and easy to read. It's all you need. I'm just going to pop into the back because in the back I've got a list of, I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you go onto a thing called lastvin.com and type in your VIN number, it'll tell you all the options. So obviously champagne metallic gold and black fabric interior. It had the guy who owned it originally, Mr. Wong, ticked luggage nets for the backs of the seat. Copy of car magazine, which is almost standard play for these PetrolBlog videos now, from the time this car was new. So these were an option. Another option, sliding roof, which on the French members of the fleet is it's a bit of a dirty word because they leak. On this one it doesn't. And it's not a glass roof, it's a proper metal roof. Power steering, an automatic transmission with floor shift, central lock-in. So again, that still works, central lock-in. Outside rear view mirror on the left. So this was from a time, even on Mercedes-Benz, where you paid extra for a door mirror. So Mr. Wong, thank you for speccing the door mirror. Paintwork preservation. Now I'm not aware of that one. Was that just an extra layer of protection for the paint, bit like Auto Glim, Super Guard, that sort of thing? It's a Mercedes extra, so it'll be interesting to see what that entailed. If anyone can let me know in the comments, please do. Interference suppression, less radio set and mechanically operated antenna. So the electric aerial was an option, which is one of the reasons why I want to get that working again. Another option, again, take it for granted these days, the lockable glove box. That was an option. So you paid extra for that. Folding armrest at the front. Love that. Makes it even more comfortable when you're cruising along with one arm out the window, Capri style, and the other one just resting on the centre tray there. Electric window lifters, front and rear doors. So unlike the Safran, where you have to sit in poverty in the back window, small German boys and girls, got to enjoy electric windows. And I've had all this mechanism off because we'll come on to it in a minute. Well, I'll say it now. There's one design flaw on this Mercedes because the roof, the seals leak. I'm sure W123 owners will back me up on this. These leak, and then water gets down, and then the bases of the glass mechanism, or the bases of the glass, are metal and they rust. And you won't know it's rusted until you hear this clunk, which is what I heard, a massive clunk from the door, and then the sound of rust, and hopefully not breaking glass, because then you know it's gone too far. But the door just falls into itself, and you've got to take the whole of the panel off, you've got to disconnect all this, and it's a heck of a job. But I've done it on this, so that's a job no one have to do again. Heat insulating glass all round, heated rear window pane, single sheet safety glass, band filter, headlamp, left hand traffic, Michelin tyres, 20 litres of fuel. I don't want to got you that far. Oh, wood trim. So that's proper wood trim, look. Again, it's coming unstuck in places. You've got wood trim all the way down the centre console. And finally, rear door contacts and lamp above rear window. So that lamp was an option. So that's pretty much what Mr. Wong went for when it was new. So it would have cost a bit more than a 9985, I think, list price. Again, these doors shut. The doors shut like a Rover P6 from my youth. Just brilliant. Dinner plate style steering wheel. It's like you're captain in a ship. Also, it does go along. It does go along like a barge. As I said earlier, wonderfully crisp dials and clear dials from the days when dials were clear. Handbrakes over here, and twist to put it back in. I still think Mercedes are still using this design approach today, and it makes, you know, the Safran I mentioned, that it's got the world's quietest warning signal to say your lights are left on. This is very Germanic when you put this one on. This is very Germanic. Wait for this. You have left your lights on! You've left your lights on! There's no way you're going to forget. Your neighbours are going to be woken up. Yeah, so turn that off. Another nice touch, you can have heating on. You can have heater on down here. You've got his and hers heating, and you can have cool air coming out the top. Love that. So you can have, this is just your cold air, and this is just your heating down the bottom. Still got the original Blaupunkt Melbourne radio. It will work. As you can hear, the aerial doesn't want to play ball. So we're kind of resigned to, now that's what I call music 3, which I doubt Mr. Wong would have listened to in 1982. Actually, I don't think this was out yet. I think this was 1984. So maybe the second owner would have tuned into. Let's see what plays. It won't be Hadaway. Isn't that orchestral manoeuvres in the dark, sounding like even OMD have never sounded worse, or better if you don't like them. Sounds like one of those ZX Spectrum games. You just don't get this kind of content from any other YouTube channel, which is why I only have 500 subscribers. Okay, so we'll put the tape away for another day. There's all your window controls, front and rear, and you can stop your German children from operating the rear. This is your ashtray with cobwebs in, and a cigarette lighter that's never been smoked in, which for 38 years old is, can I say it? It's quite remarkable. I feel like David Coleman. Oh, what do we hear? It's quite remarkable. Lockable Club Box, as we know, with your cup holders of the day, as long as you don't go around corners. An RAC key box for when you need to phone the RAC, which would never happen in a W123. The only tip of the hat to the modern: plug this in, charge your mobile phone, and what every W123 needs is a Happy Father's Day. Happy Eater. I forget what this is. Corkscrew, obviously, for those moments when you're on the move and you really fancy a bottle of wine. Bizarre thing to have in my car. Anyway, it's there. Again, look at the way that closes. You know the Sonna Saab where it doesn't fit? It does on the W123. Let's jump in the back. I know you want to get in the back. Okay, there isn't a huge amount of room in the back, especially when the seat's in my position. So once the German kids got older, they'd have been crying out for something a bit bigger, maybe an S-Class. But again, a bit like the front, it's really comfortable in the front, in the back. Look at that. Majestic. That's a word I'd use for this car. Majestic. Comfortable in the back. I think it's little things that catch you out, actually. This doesn't, the centre armrest doesn't come out like you'd normally expect it to. Now, if you're like me, you'd expect this to come out from here. But nope, you pull this little latch down here and it folds down. No cup holders in these days. Germans weren't allowed to drink in the back of their cars. Oh, and up here is the original first aid kit in the back, just in case. That'll be out of date. Wouldn't want to use that. There's a video online showing the development of the W123, and it shows the lengths Mercedes went to perfect it. There's one where there's just two shoes rolling up and down a mat, probably replicating, I don't know, 100,000 miles, 200,000 miles of use. And you almost guarantee that the shoes wore out before the carpet, because the carpets are amazing. They're so thick, and underneath you've got this sound deadening, and it gives it this kind of spongy effect. And the other one is just this man, I mean, it's a standard course, but this thing to replicate this opening and closing. Again, probably 150, 200,000 miles worth doing that, just to make sure that it was as good in 2020 as it was when this car was new in 1982. And this is proof. You know, it's easy to say at the time that we've built an amazing car. We've built a car that's going to stand the test of time. We've built a car that's like no other. It's easy to say it when it's new, because it's just marketing speak. But in 2020, and this was nowhere near the best example. I mean, it lives in a pretty harsh climate in Devon, where this sunshine is quite rare. It's lived here all its life. It's lived by the sea part of its life. And I know it's had some work done on the rear wheel arches. I know that. I think the previous owner is going to go again soon. So I know it's going to need body work soon. And I know that rust is one of these cars' Achilles heel. But it's everything else that goes with it. It's the quality, the workmanship, the attention to detail on the stuff that really matters. Everything feels built to last. Okay, I'll fire her up, because I know sometimes I don't fire these cars up on these preview videos. One thing is, she's come out of winter hibernation with a misfire, which I need to investigate, so please excuse the slight misfire. And it sort of just slowly ticks over. Yeah, you can just feel the misfire. See a slight shake on the camera as well. But when she's cruising along, like, you don't want to go much quicker than 50 or 60. Motorways really aren't this car's friend. If you're going anywhere, you want to be on an A road. Not necessarily a B road, because it's not that kind of car, but it's a car for doing 55, a steady 55, and just letting the world slow down. It's just, well, as I say, the best car on the fleet. The best car I've ever bought. Not the most expensive car I've ever bought, but the best car I've ever bought. If you get a chance to drive one of these or own one of these, just do it. Because trust me, you won't regret it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.